Welcome to the Journey to Oneness podcast.
My name is Nikita.
And I'm Larry. And together,
we are the Thompsons.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you had a great 2 weeks. Hope you enjoyed your spring break. If you haven't had spring break, I hope your spring break goes well. Hope you enjoyed the last install that we had, just knowing yourself. So today, we're going to tackle a topic that's kind of interesting, called communication. It's one of the things I think that most people struggle with in marriage. When we did surveys and people responded, that was one of the things that they struggle with. I think we struggle with, everyone struggles with the art of communication.
Right.
So really quick, y'all know we love our definitions and we love getting the scripture and then different tips and tools. So really quick, we're going to jump into this definition.
Yes, the definition for communication, it means sending or receiving information. That could either be by text, emails, phone calls, face-to-face, however you see communication is, that's what that is, as far as receiving and sending information.
Right.
The next definition that we would say that's not biblically, but I guess
it ties
into it. It would be communication done in truth and love. The second one would be suitable, and it must be sufficient information in order to communicate, function, and relate properly.
Relate properly.
Relate properly. Yes, properly. With love and truth.
And so it's kind of like that old church thing, that it be done decently
and
in order.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So one of the things that we just sitting around, we talk to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the challenges that came back of communication was the perception or the apprehension of getting into the conversation, and then there's an argument, right?
Yes.
So I think that comes from, we were children, like, well, what happened? I had an argument, and it has a negative connotation, right?
Right.
But if I was in debate club, don't you call me a nerd? I heard y'all. I felt it in my spirit.
That's why you talk a lot.
Yeah, I was in debate club. I like to debate. So when you talk about the debate club, it was an argument, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So in that environment, I learned that an argument is not necessarily a bad thing, because it's just, all it is different positions of or a viewpoint. So it's not that you're wrong or I'm right. This is my viewpoint on this issue. Right?
Some people look at argument as fighting.
That's true. That is one of the definitions.
That
is one of the definitions.
But it's not physically fighting.
Right.
It's just relating information to one another. That's your opinion. This is my opinion.
Correct.
It's a happy medium.
Yes. And that's, and that, if we think about the word argument and we take just what the verb says, right? It's giving reason or citing evidence in support of an idea, action, or theory, typically with the aim of persuading others to share one's view. To share one's view. As it says, it stands to reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says that when, God started talking about mankind and our relationship to him and sin, it says, come, let us reason together, right? And it's kind of like that same situation with husband and wife. Right? And so if we thought about it, if as your husband, early in our marriage, I took what you would say to me as an attack.
I did too.
Okay, well, we had the same understanding, because my previous thought of what a debate was, I didn't relate it into relationship.
Right.
Because that was just, that was debate. That was, amongst friends. That was between, different schools, different collegiate places. So, when we had those arguments, well, it was the issue at the end of everybody high-fived, hey, good point, I like your point, and then we walked away.
Right.
But we didn't walk away angry. We actually congratulated the other person for forcing us to think a different direction.
Because y'all wasn't spouses.
For
some reason, it was spouses. You have issues afterwards. Some people still get mad afterwards. Some, pout. Some hold grudges. So I think the closer you are to the person, the harder sometimes it can be. The more emotional you will be.
And I think part of the thing is it, well, let me say this way. Is it a possibility that when I think of you having a different opinion from me, is that you don't love me or you don't see me?
No, I don't think, no. Just because your opinion is different from mine don't mean that I don't love you.
So where does
Mhm.
that passion that as husband and wife, where do we get that? We don't think we sit down and analyze
No,
that, right? So one of the things,
I just feel attacked. I don't think that that you don't love me.
okay, so which means I don't see you.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it just seems like you don't see me, but no, I don't think it's a love thing because sometimes people take love as actions, and then some use it just as words.
Because
It depends on the person how they look at that word.
remember now, I don't know about everybody else's relationship. One of the things that we would start throwing, slander. You
Yeah,
know, that's okay. You don't pick up behind yourself. I don't pick up behind myself. You don't put gas in the car.
it's
The
just
argue,
anger,
and it would not be the issue,
right?
but it was just just throwing fire back in.
Because it was old issues that we never settled because we
Mm,
never communicated about the old issues. We just pushed past it, never talked about it.
right. So having unresolved issues.
Causes issues later. Yes, it does.
Hmm. So
Mm,
could it be safe to say that unresolved issues is ineffective communication,
yes,
right?
I would say so.
Now,
Yes.
even if we have,
Hmm.
okay, at the end of this conversation, we're going to have different viewpoints on importance, but
Right.
can we find common ground on execution,
Yes, we can.
right? So if we did, but then
Mhm.
again, we would have to not be emotionally
Right.
attached
Right.
to an
And
outcome.
when it's a spouses, you normally emotionally attached.
Facts.
Normally, you're emotionally attached. If it's just your friend, it depends on how close you and your friend are. Or how many years y'all have into that relationship. It's possible that you can be have an emotional effect on that as well. But majority of the time, you don't really have to. You don't really have it. It's mostly with spouses or someone that's really close to you that you love dearly.
That's true. So what if there was tips and strategy that we could implement that would help with those things?
That would be awesome.
But then it would just take the commitment to it, right?
Right.
And then it's learning a new way of dealing,
Right.
right?
But they both have to be committed to that
That's true.
because it's not going to communication is not a one fold thing.
Yeah,
It's together. It's just like us communicating, having a relationship with God. We got to speak to God.
yeah,
God speaks to us. It's not going to be a one sided.
right.
So if you're going to do that, we have to be committed to it. Both of us have to be committed, not just one of us.
So one of the things that I went through the communication training, right?
Mhm.
That's several once a month. And one of the things I learned really quick was I had to have a study buddy.
Right.
I had to have that person that I could exchange ideas and flows, and that could
Hmm.
give me feedback on it, right? So I had to be open to the feedback, not
Right.
and not take it as criticism,
Right.
right? So if I take it as
Hmm.
criticism, that really messes everything up,
Yes, it does.
right? So here's some points that we kind of came up with. Is there a difference between intention and execution, right? And these are things to consider.
Right.
Um, is there a difference between what is said and what was meant, and what's the reasons and what's our
Right.
rights? Those,
Oh yeah.
those. I mean, as a lady, my wife, my baby.
Don't be putting me on the spot.
No, no, no.
No,
I'm
I
just.
hear you.
But
I
it's
hear
just
you.
like
I know.
just going through
I get
excuse me, y'all, off our experience.
Yes.
She got me all flustered. I looked at it, just lost everything, and that's my sweetie right there. So,
Mm-hmm.
my intention versus my execution.
Hmm.
I think it took. Oh my god! Now I've been going through this type of training off and on since I was in my teens,
Hmm.
and still until my late 30s, we had been having the same conversation. It's not. It's not what you intended. It's how you put it out there,
Execute. Yep.
right? When, where,
Hmm.
how. That whole methodology piece. Um, and my intention was to come off to seek information. But what I was do sometime, I would give you instructions
Right.
and not consider that you had a viewpoint as well,
Exactly.
and vice versa.
Exactly. Right. Mhm.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, if you say so.
I just.
I just didn't see it that way, but okay, I
But
get it.
that goes to intention versus execution, right?
Right.
So,
I
so,
get it. I get it.
so, how do we, with those three things, how do we give people some insight. Because I noticed we don't really have those dialogues like this. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
pretty much, and this is not a braggadocious thing. This is a God glorifying thing. We don't really have these type of dialogues. I want to say not too long after my mom,
Mhm.
right? So at 17, it's 22 now. So 5 years,
Mhm.
right? We're going on 5 years by God's grace soon, right? My mom
Right.
died April 22nd. So yeah, we're coming up on 5 years soon.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where being right,
Mhm.
talk about having rights,
Right.
right?
Yep.
It, I stopped focusing on my rights and start focusing on the reasons,
Right. Right.
which made my ears change how I heard you, regardless
Mhm.
of how you present.
I had to stop looking at the things that you did wrong and start focusing on the things that I did wrong. Because if I focus on the things that I did wrong, by the time you come to me and I see that you did something wrong, it kind of helped me in the situation. Because see, I have to look at myself. I can't just look at you.
That's true.
You can't just keep throwing faults. But the communication part of it, if I looked at myself and when you came to me and we had this conversation, communication would have been a lot better. I wouldn't have been so. I'm trying to put it in words. It wouldn't have been so emotional
Mhm.
because I was looking more at you and throwing faults at you versus looking at myself and saying, "Hey, what did you cause? What did you bring to the table that caused this issue,
Mhm.
or could it contribute to this issue?"
Mhm.
But see, a lot of marriages don't. They don't talk about that. People in the marriages don't talk about that. They don't talk about what they bring to the table and what they did wrong. Not that it's because a lot of times it's two sided.
It's two sided.
It's not always a one sided thing.
Yeah.
But we should look at ourselves as well as look at the other person. How about we
Yes.
judge ourselves before we start throwing knives and stuff at the other person?
Not physical
Not
knives.
physical knives.
Just
Yeah,
like eye daggers. You
words.
know what
It's
I mean?
just
Yeah.
words. Yes,
Words, throwing daggers, verbal
yes.
daggers. Yeah.
So I think that once we start looking at ourselves and we start evaluating ourselves, I think the communication will be better with the spouses.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that once we started, we went from understanding there's a difference between my intention and
Mhm.
my execution, right? So
Right,
execution is really what I want to focus on.
right,
How am I going to get this done, and what will be the impact on the back end,
right.
right? Focused with the end in mind, so to speak, right? Um, Let me just say exactly what I mean.
Mhm.
So I mean, I may have to slow down.
And that's what goes in what I was saying about judging yourself,
Yeah,
evaluating yourself. Because see, the things if you evaluate yourself, you become cautious of what you say.
because that goes back to episode 3 still,
Yeah,
knowing yourself.
knowing yourself.
I have to
Right.
know myself and then turn back around, know myself well enough to know my impacts on you by the
Hmm.
words that I choose. Knowing your audience. You know what I mean? And I have to once again goes another episode. I have to see you the right way. If I
Right.
see you as a combatant, I dread having a conversation with you.
Yes.
It's going to always be a bad
It's
conversation.
always.
And you know how much I love absolute. I don't
Yes.
like it at all unless you pertain to God. So it's going
Hmm.
to always be a bad outcome because I'm going
Hmm.
into it thinking we're going to have an argument.
Right.
So I go into a positive desire with a
Hmm.
negative input, which never really works.
No.
It don't work that often. If it does
Mm-mm.
work, it does not work often.
Right.
Right? So what does the Bible say about husbands and wives?
First Peter 3:7. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers.
Mm. So I don't know about y'all. If you living at any point in life, you got some things that you really requesting that, hey Lord, I need wisdom on some stuff. I need
Hmm.
some opportunities to change. I need some things that happen in my situation in my marriage. So one of the things I had to learn was I had to stop praying about my wife
Yep.
and start praying for our marriage and start praying about me and the impact I had in our marriage.
Right.
Right? Because one of the things I was talking to a pastor friend of ours, and we were talking about relationships. And I told him, I said, here's the ironic part. I was praying that God would do something, and it was already starting to manifest in my wife. and I kept praying the same prayer, and I didn't see the manifestation. So I never acknowledged her change. When I didn't acknowledge her change, she became frustrated because she was putting the work in and she wasn't getting any positive feedback.
Right.
She kept getting blamed. And then I started receiving the same thing. And then we both had to slow down and just go, oh, I'm
Right.
praying about you, not for you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right? So my actions was hindering my prayers.
Yes.
My perception of you was hindering my prayer, our prayer. Right? Yeah. So another one that comes into, right? Now this talks about that love walk, right? Ephesians 4, verses 2 and 3, and then we're gonna skip down to 15. We're not gonna read it all the way down, but you get a chance, go back and read that one.
Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. Verse 15. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of Him, who is the head, that is Christ.
So the goal is for us to. So we talked about this one time in a Bible study about Bible people saying perfect. Well, ain't nobody perfect. No, but if you think about it, when something is perfect or being perfected, it's maturing.
Yes.
And it kind of goes back into this here. Will grow to become, in every respect, the mature body. Mm-hmm. So my communication, the way I esteem you, my execution versus my intentions, my what I meant versus what I said, my reasonings versus my rights. I have to mature in those areas.
Right.
Because if I mature in those areas, then I can start to think about how I pray for you. Right? Then I can think about how I speak to you, because now my love walk changes on how I see you.
Right.
But if we don't work on those things,
and I had to work on it. I had to work on it because I would, when you would do things, I would go to God. This is what He did, Daddy. Such and such. But see, every time I did that, God showed me.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to rethink that. I had to go back and change my words and what I was praying to God, for one, and then two, go back and evaluate myself and say, "Hey, Keita, what are you doing wrong?" And once I evaluated myself, God intervened.
Mm-hmm.
Because then when I went to go pray for you and not about you, like you said, it was manifesting.
Yes.
It was already manifesting. And sometimes you just got to take that time and just evaluate yourself. That's very important.
Yeah.
That is very important. That's very important in marriage, period.
Yes. Yes. Very much so. So it's one of those things where, if I love God, I see you as my gift. I have to use God's care package to take care of the gift He gave, which is the Word of God. Right. So if the Word of God is the care package, and I'm supposed to take care of you that way, it's going to take care of me too. Right? Yeah. It kind of goes back into where Ephesians talks about, no man loves himself. And then, I'm paraphrasing this, y'all. So it's Ephesians 5:25. No man, if I love my own body, I'm going to love you the same way. Because by loving you like that, I'm loving myself twice. Right. Because what I give you, you're going to manifest back towards me. Right. And then it's just going to keep going back and forth, back and forth. So if I really want grace from you, when you pop off, I got to keep giving you grace, not an attitude. Right. I can't, oh man, she tripping. She thinks she's talking to me. Man, I ain't got to take this from her. I'm going to go find it. And that's ego. That's that ego, right? Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, Jesus was in the wilderness. He was tempted in 3 areas: lust of the flesh, lust of the eye, pride of life. Right. If you're responding in an angry, frustrated, I'm going to get you back kind of way, it's time back into one of them 3, which means I'm not walking in love. Right. I'm walking in my flesh. Right. Because notice Jesus didn't have an ego. No. He didn't have an ego. He did everything with love and kindness. The only time he got mad is when they were selling that stuff inside the sanctuary. But he dishonored his father. But he dishonored, yes. They dishonored his father. So he didn't have an ego. So if Jesus didn't have an ego, why should man have it? Because Jesus can do whatever he wanted to. He can raise people from the dead. Exactly. So if anybody should have an ego, it should be him. Yeah. Yeah, when you walk on water,
Yeah.
you take, 5 in the fish, and then you pow, 12
Yeah.
baskets left over. You know what I mean? When you raising people from the dead, you speaking a word, somebody
Hmm.
becoming healed, you ain't even there. Somebody
Right.
touch you. Jesus had a right to have the big head.
Yeah, he did. And he didn't have to go. He didn't go around telling everybody who he was.
No.
He didn't have to come out and say, "This is my title." Like in some relationships, husbands and wives. You ain't got to go to your husband or your wife and say, "I'm your wife. I'm your husband." You got to do. No, we don't have to do all that. We
So
shouldn't have to
you
anyway.
shouldn't have to. So
You
y'all
know.
gonna hear this off and on throughout these messages. If you have to walk into the house, or you have to talk to your spouse and give your spouse feedback on your role in the relationship, you're not executing.
Exactly.
You're showing intention, but you're not
Hmm.
executing,
All right.
right? So, but that's part of it. So now the thing is, once again, we got keys,
Yes.
right? We
Gotta
got
keep keys.
5 key principles that you can use in communicating to your spouse. And if you have paper, pen, got notepad, something, my prayer is that you write this down.
Or
And
just
then
go back and listen to
I
it.
go back and listen to it, share it with a friend,
Yes.
share it with your spouse, throw it on whatever social media platform. I'm telling you, I promise you,
They work. These
if you
keys work.
commit to it and you stay with it,
It works.
it works.
Living proof.
It works. And now don't get me wrong, you're gonna still have moments where somebody gonna say something that's gonna sound a little slick.
Hmm.
But when it does happen in our marriage, one of us doesn't even respond to it. It's like, oh, okay, that's your flesh.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna press your
Yeah.
flesh. I'm gonna walk in the spirit, and I'm gonna choose love. Hey babe, my bad. It seems like I made you upset. No, I ain't upset.
I'm going
Because
to get upset.
that's normal.
Yeah.
I ain't mad. You keep saying I'm mad. I'm gonna get mad. Like, well,
Yeah.
that's an angry response already,
Right.
right?
But
So
sometimes it feels good to say it.
it does.
I know it's wrong,
It's
but
the
you know.
flesh,
Yeah.
and I've said it. Like,
Hmm.
you really, POing me off. POing me right now. Excuse the term. I don't know if some of y'all feel
We
that
don't
way about.
use those words.
I know I'm trying to. Y'all keep praying for me, but I'm straight out of Newark, New Jersey. We say pissed off in New Jersey. Just saying. I love the Lord. He heard my cry and
Oh,
pitted every
gee.
wrong. However, He's still working on the boy, and I'm
Don't be bringing
perfected.
scriptures in this.
I'm
Don't be
perfect in my
bringing
spirit, but
scriptures
I'm
in that.
being renewed in my mind. Anyway,
All right, Steve Harvey.
I'm just saying. Oh
Yeah.
dang, I ain't Steve Harvey now. Wow,
Just
wow,
that's what he say. Just
wow.
saying.
I ain't cussed
I ain't
nobody
perfect,
out
but
in
he's
over
still working
24
on me. I'm
years.
talking about the words he said, not the cussing.
Oh, okay,
The
okay.
the statement.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm being mature and being perfected I'm growing into my perfected person. I gave my life to Christ. I'm perfect there, but now I'm growing into perfection,
I'm talking about the
as
statement he
Hebrews says.
makes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Mhm.
So it's want to make sure we. Oof, Lord Jesus, call me Steve Harvey. I'll take Steve money,
I
but
would
I
too.
don't want to take Steve out.
Yeah.
I don't want to take what he had to do sometime to get it.
Yeah.
That's a
No.
whole different thing too. Anyway, that's a whole
So
different chapter.
the 5 keys.
The 5 keys, right? So really quick, esteem.
Esteem. Yeah.
Be specific and sincere. When you want to have a conversation with a person, understand who your audience is.
Hmm.
Understand the person you're talking with. Be
Yeah.
specific. Stay on topic. If
Yeah.
you're going outside the topic, you're looking for a way to win an argument. You are not operating in life.
Right. The second one. Empathy.
Mm.
Describe facts and feelings. Be
N-
specific.
Be,
Just
yeah,
be honest. Tell them how you feel.
and respectfully though, right?
Yes.
So let's role play that one, right? So, okay, a couple of days ago, I got in the car. There was no gas in the car. When I told you there was no gas in the car, you was like, "Oh yeah, I knew it." What did you know before I got in the car? Yeah. Why didn't you tell me? Right. So now my feelings is I feel left out because
Hmm.
you just let me just take off down the road. I'm trying to go, south so I can get what I got to go to quickly, and now I got
Hmm.
to stop. I got to get gas. I'm gonna be late. I'm out here in the rain. I didn't bring cash for this. All those feelings that I get.
Hmm.
It's important that when that
Yeah.
happens, I communicate my feeling but I try not to be accusatory. Like, please, just next time, tell me. Offer a suggestion.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not offering a suggestion, more than likely, you're offering blame.
Mhm. Right.
The next time this happens, could you please let me know? So that way I can, leave a little bit sooner. I can go the day before. That's one
Mhm.
of, because people actually have those kind of conversations. I can't believe you took the last cookie out the cookie jar. You knew I was hungry. Like a cookie
Mhm.
really gonna solve your appetite.
Right.
It's not.
Number 3, involvement. Unleash ideas with questions.
So one of the favorite phrases I've heard, and it stuck with me, and I'm not gonna quote the person because I don't have permission to quote them like that.
We don't throw names out.
Yeah. Seek to understand and then be understood. Seek to understand and then be understood. I need your feedback. And if I'm constantly giving you my opinion and telling you that your opinion is not valid or over speaking you, why would you want to talk? I'm not unleashing the creativity that's built in to the marriage plan. I'm actually stomping it out. So if that's what you're doing and you feel pleased about it, you need to ask yourself, am I maturing in marriage? Or am I still doing the kindergarten stomp in my marriage? Because my kindergarten is school, but them jokes, they just fall out.
So,
Yeah.
number 4, share. Disclose feelings to build trust.
So I can't speak for every brother um, or every sister. However, I will say this. When we talked about the Garden of Eden, the Bible says that they were naked and unashamed. And we kind of mentioned this in another couple of places before, but you must, at some point, create Eden in your marriage.
Right.
You have to create a safe space for your spouse to come home, take their battle gear off, take their supervisor, manager, whatever that hat is they wear at work off, that occupational hat, take that off. Because they get blamed at work all day. Right? And if you're the supervisor, you get to tell people what to do, but then there's somebody that's always telling you what to do. If you're the business owner, there's somebody that's always on. So you get those drama, you get the drama. You got to build the trust.
Yep.
Create Eden in your home.
And number 5, support. Help the person or the team make decisions, but do not take over.
So, did you notice it said person or team?
Team, yes.
Guys are a team. We're a team.
Yep.
Right? You can't do all the work and I stay home and chill, and I can't do all the work and you stay home and chill. Everybody got to carry some of the load, right?
Mm-hmm.
Equal commitment and equal sacrifice. Now, if you make 100,000 and I'm making 95, great, right?
Right.
I lose my job one year. They downsize. I got to go back to school, get a new degree, new something, and then all of a sudden I'm starting over again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to beat me up and make me feel like less of a man, because eventually at some point I have to get on my feet. I have to, as Outcast say, get up, get out, and go get something.
Yeah.
But if I feel defeated at home, how do I go and I put my armor back on and expect them not to beat me to death? Because I'm already sore. I can't devalue you as as my wife because, man, girl, I'm just carrying you. No.
Mm-hmm.
Bear ye one another in love.
There's no I in team.
Right? So I have to be supportive. So in the midst of our conversation, if I'm not providing support to the marriage, I'm part of the problem.
Yes.
And it's willingly being part of the problem. So it's
that was it for me.
Okay,
because we have to be respectful of people's
respect.
time.
We gonna respect people's time.
You know, can't just be, because some people have kids. They have to take care of their kids.
That's true.
They have long day at work.
That's true.
They got to come home and cook, male or female. They got to clean. Some got to teach Bible study. Some got to teach the word. I mean, you just never know what they got.
Some people just want to go to bed.
Some people. Right. So we got to be respectful of everybody. I say that every time we get on this podcast, because I truly mean it. You my timekeeper. Yes, I truly mean it. I'm going to get one of them buttons that says, "That's it."
Yeah, we need a time button. You need a time button.
I'm going to get that. You can be really, really long, but I still love you though.
Hey, it's me. I know that. And that's why God gave me you. So that way,
Hmm.
bring that boy back in.
Yeah.
Slow him
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
He be running.
I mean, you got good information. I'm not saying that the information is not good, but I just like that. I just want to make sure that everybody have time to do the things that they need to do because it just seemed like 24 hours go so fast.
Man, you tell.
So you just got to be respectful of people's time.
All
That's
right.
all I'm saying.
So with that in mind, we want to say thank you again for listening.
Thank you.
We appreciate everyone that
Appreciate
has
you.
listened. We appreciate the feedback.
Yes.
We appreciate the shares, the comments, the text messages, the
Yes.
emails, the IMs, all that.
All of that.
Share with a friend.
Yes. Please do.
Please subscribe. Please like. Please share.
Yes.
Please follow.
Because one of our mottos is if we only touch one person, it's not done in vain.
That's right. If
Right.
if one marriage or one relationship is healed, oh man, God be good.
Be awesome.
So, with that in mind, we bid you a great week. See you next time. And remember, it's a journey and not a sprint.